I could show to what God to what we have done with anything that comes to Missions for the Nations ministry. And I could say, this is what we have done. We could sit with our board of director and we could say, here is what we have accomplished. But when we have no accountability, it means that you're your own boss. Nobody can tell you anything. Nobody can ask you for any reports. Nobody can, no, I don't care. I'll do whatever I want. But here, the Bible is making it clear that accountability was so important as we look at the book of Matthew chapter 25. Let's look at verse 21 through 23. Let's look at verse 19. Verse 19. After a long time, the master returned and settled accounts with them. Right? He settled accounts based on what was done with what he gave them. What he entrusted them with, I should say. So he said, all right, now it's decision time. How much more can you handle? Hello? So that's the question that we need to ask ourselves. Is it that I have not showed enough accountability why I am not further in where I need to be? Oh man, I'm preaching some conviction question there. Is it that I hid the Lord's talent why I am not entrusted with an additional talent? Is it that I had the opportunity to expand on it, but I kept it to myself? So when we begin to evaluate ourselves, we're saying, God, am I really qualified to be entrusted with more? I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth right now. As a pastor and as an entrepreneur, I right now, man, I do so much, but I'm able to do based on what God given me so much vision, man, for so many different things, and I'm constantly doing, and I'm constantly enlarging. Why? Because God feels that I can trust Him with it, and so many others would come to me and say, "How do you do it? How do you do it? How do you do it? How do you do it?" And I would constantly say to them, "All you have to do is to be accountable. All you have to do is to be a giver and make sure whatever you're doing is for God." The moment you begin to take it onto yourself and say, I'm doing this for me. The moment you begin to say, this is mine. The moment you begin to have the wrong idea of doing something or wanting something, then you begin to say, I will pay the bills myself. But God says, if you make it about me, if you are someone that's willing to say, I am accountable to God. I am doing this because I want God to come back and say, well done, thou good and faithful servant. What is it that God has entrusted you with? What kind of talent? In fact, not even a talent. What has God entrusted you with? I've always shared that I had a great pastor in Jamaica. She always emphasized, she said, listen, man, it doesn't matter what you are entrusted with doing. If it's to sweep, if it's to mop, and nothing's wrong with those things, because I'll do that at any time. And I remember the days when I would sweep and I would mop and I would do whatever, and I still do. I have no problem doing. Why? Because I don't see me always just sweeping and mopping. I see that God is going to enlarge my territory, and God is going to give me a vacuum. Come on, somebody. And God is going to give me one of those things that, you ever been to Sam's Club and you see them driving around this automatic thing that you don't even have to sit on it? Man, you have to understand that what you're doing now is setting you up for an expansion. But in order for you to attain that expansion, you have to give an account for what you did with that mop and what you did with that broom.